Celtic fans, gather yourselves because there's a real feeling in the air tonight, the kind that only comes when Celtic are standing on the edge of a big European occasion. You can sense it across Glasgow from the early hours of the morning right through the afternoon, with folk in their green and white gearing up for what could be a massive night. It's that mix of nerves, excitement, and pure belief that only this club seems capable of stirring, and it feels as if everyone's bracing for something a wee bit different, maybe even the start of a new chapter under the guidance of Wilfried Nancy. The manager spoke yesterday, and for many supporters, it was the first time he truly sounded settled, as though he finally found the tone he's been looking for since arriving. There was a calmness about him, but not the sort that hides uncertainty. This was confidence, measured and genuine. He wasn't rattled by the noise from the outside, and he didn't bother with the usual cliches managers use when tensions rise. Instead, he focused on what he can actually affect, and that's shaping Celtic into a side that reflects his ideas, his football, and his leadership. When the media pushed him on the reaction to Sunday, on the debates over tactics and formation boards and all the chat that filled social media, he didn't seem bothered in the slightest. He accepted that folk will always have their say, that chatter is part of the job, but he made it crystal clear that none of that changes anything for him. His mind is on the pitch, on drilling the concepts he believes will bring Celtic success. He talked less about systems and more about principles, playing with intent, pressing as a unit, moving together, supporting each other, and understanding those relationships that make a team look alive rather than robotic. You could tell he genuinely believes in what he's building. And when he was asked about stepping into a European night for the first time as Celtic manager, he spoke with respect, but also with real assurance. He reminded everyone that he's been involved in major continental matches before, including a Champions Cup final across the Atlantic. He didn't pretend this would be easy, but he made it clear he's not walking into the unknown either. There was a hint of pride in the way he addressed it, a belief that he belongs on this stage, and that sort of attitude is exactly what supporters have been desperate to see, someone who embraces the size of the club without shying away from its expectations. Nancy also spoke a lot about leadership, and the more he explained his view of it, the more it sounded like something he takes seriously. He said that coaching is about helping players make the right choices, read the game properly, use the right foot at the right moment, but leading, according to him, requires something deeper, understanding the environment, recognizing the emotions in the group, facing adversity with a steady head, and keeping the message coherent. And he used that word several times, coherent. Alongside humility, two ideas he repeated like anchor points. It wasn't hard to see what he meant either. Coherence for him is giving the players clarity so they never feel lost on the pitch. Humility is knowing the size of the challenge, but not backing away from it. It's a grounded confidence, and it seems to be rubbing off on the squad. He also gave the first proper update in a while on Kelechi Iheanacho, and it was one the fans have been waiting on. The striker hasn't played since early October, missing a full run of matches, and although he's been back in the squad recently, there was cautiousness about rushing him. Yesterday, the manager finally confirmed that Iheanacho is available for a small role tonight, not ready for a full shift, but ready enough to take part if needed. And for a player who's felt like a forgotten figure in recent weeks, that's a welcome bit of news. Some supporters maybe link him too closely to the previous manager, the type of signing people assume will drift away once the old regime moves on. But Nancy seems ready to judge the player on his own qualities. And fair enough too, because Iheanacho looked sharp early in the season. His finish in Belgrade still stands out, that coolness in front of goal that Celtic sometimes lack against strong opposition. He's clever with the ball at his feet, good at linking play, and capable of holding his ground when defenders try to bully him. If he adapts well to Nancy's style, there's every chance he becomes a key figure in this run of matches. When it comes to the team selection for tonight, it wouldn't be a surprise if the manager sticks with the same shape as Sunday, the 3-4-2-1 structure he's trying to ingrain. The big question is whether he makes any changes to the personnel. On Sunday, Celtic only made 2 substitutions, which raised eyebrows amongst the support. It left many wondering if Nancy simply doesn't trust the bench yet, or if he felt the game needed continuity rather than disruption. Either way, looking at the options, either there aren't many obvious switches that feel guaranteed. Johnny Kenny could be considered, Luke McCowan too, but neither seems a certainty to start, so it wouldn't shock anyone if the same 11 take the pitch again. Schmeichel between the sticks, the back 3 of Trusty, Scales and Tierney, McGregor and Engels controlling the centre, Yang working the right, Teti on the left, Hatate and Negron pushing forward from behind the striker, and Daisen Maeda leading the line. It feels like the shape the manager trusts most right now, but the real curiosity tonight is the fact that Roma will likely mirror the exact same formation. It's rare enough to see one team using that system, never mind 2 going head-to-head with it in a European match. Their expected lineup, judging by what's been said in Italy, is full of heavyweight players. A young Serbian keeper in goal, then a backline featuring seasoned defenders with international experience. Their midfield carries real pedigree, from Italian regulars to Brazilian internationals, and up front they'll likely play Paulo Dybala as a false 9, which brings a whole different sort of challenge. Looking at their bench doesn't make things easier. They're missing their main Ukrainian striker, but even without him, they've still got dangerous options waiting to come on. Wingers with blistering pace, forwards used to Premier League pressure, and players who've already performed on big European nights. It's a proper test, one of the hardest Celtic will face this season. And yet, despite all that quality, Celtic Park is a sellout. And there's a feeling amongst supporters that these are the nights where anything can happen, especially in the Europa League, where the gap between teams isn't quite as wide as in the Champions League. Celtic have shown before, more than once, that they can rise to the occasion when the crowd is roaring and the team finds that extra bit of sharpness. Roma might come in with the bigger names, but European nights in Glasgow don't always follow the script. When you look at the bigger picture of this Europa League campaign, it becomes clearer why tonight carries such weight for Celtic. Sitting with 7 points on the board, the margin for error is slim but still manageable. Supporters know well that in this competition, momentum can flip in an instant. One good night, one big performance, and suddenly you're right back in the mix. 10 points is usually the mark that keeps you in contention, but 11 is the one that practically assures passage into the next round. So every match feels like the sort that can define the journey. Celtic have 3 games left, and while none of them are straightforward, there's still a belief among the support that this squad is capable of rising to the occasion if they finally click into gear. Roma come into this fixture with 9 points, which explains why the pressure sits more heavily on Celtic's side of the table. A win tonight would flip everything on its head, but even a draw would keep the path open and avoid the sort of setback that drains the confidence of a group still adjusting to a new structure. It helps a bit that the Italians haven't been at their best lately, losing their last 2 matches. And no, matter how strong a squad looks on paper, a quick run of poor results always plants a few doubts. The hope is that Celtic can take advantage of those nerves, especially in the opening stages when the noise from the stands tends to rattle visiting sides who aren't used to the atmosphere. Speaking of the atmosphere, there's something special about these nights under the lights at Celtic Park. It is not just the noise or the songs, it's the feeling that the stadium becomes almost alive, feeding the players energy every time they step forward with intent. When the crowd senses an opportunity, the volume rises instinctively, creating a surge that pushes the team on. The players often talk about how the place seems to lift them, and that sort of intangible quality has turned many fixtures that seemed impossible into unforgettable moments. This is the element Roma won't fully understand until they're out there, surrounded by tens of thousands of people who treat every duel, every tackle, every attack like it's the deciding moment of a final. Of course, the excitement doesn't erase the concerns. There's still a question mark hovering over the defense and how they'll cope with a Roma attack that can be ruthless when given space. The system Nancy is developing demands bravery, both in how the ball is handled and how high the defensive line operates. That can be thrilling to watch when it works, but it also leaves little room for hesitation. The players are still growing into the roles he's asking them to play, and while the signs of progress are there, it's not yet a finished product. Supporters understand that, but European football is unforgiving, and even brief lapses can turn into costly moments. Still, one thing Celtic do have is energy in abundance, especially in transition. If they press properly, if the midfield squeeze the space and win those second balls, they can put Roma under real pressure. The Italians, for all their technical ability, don't enjoy matches where they're forced to play at a frantic tempo, and Celtic can thrive in chaos if they pick their moments well. Maida's relentless running gives any defender a nightmare, and the creativity behind him can cause problems if the rhythm feels right. Hatate, in particular, has a knack for showing up in the sort of pockets that unsettles structured teams, and Negron's growing confidence adds another layer to the attack. One factor that could quietly decide this match is the leadership on the pitch. Callum McGregor has been through countless nights like this, and his ability to control tempo will be crucial. You could see on Sunday how much more composed the team looked when they played through him. Engels has settled far quicker than many expected, and the pairing has a balance that could help Celtic maintain control in the thick of the battle. If they can dictate even parts of the match, the dynamic shifts in Celtic's favour. The physical and mental resilience will matter too. Roma's players are used to big games and won't crumble easily, but Celtic have shown before that resilience doesn't always come from experience. Sometimes it comes from pure determination and the refusal to back down. The fans expect fight, commitment, and the sort of attitude that refuses to let a match slip away without a contest. And when the team shows that spirit, the supporters lift them 10 times over. Another element worth watching is how both managers react during the game. Nancy isn't known for making changes at random. He tends to trust his initial plan, and sometimes that steadiness pays off. But European matches often ask for bold decisions, and this could be a night where fresh legs or a subtle tweak makes the difference. Iheanacho's presence on the bench gives Celtic an option they haven't had in a while. Someone with composure in front of goal who can punish tired defenders late in the match. Even if he only plays a handful of minutes, those minutes could be decisive if the match remains tight. Roma, on the other hand, have the luxury of depth. Players like Angelino, Evan Ferguson, and Leon Bailey bring completely different threats. Even if Celtic manage to hold their own against the starting 11, there's no guarantee the game gets any easier once the substitutions begin. This makes the timing of Celtic's own changes even more important. The longer the team stays organized and calm, the more likely the match opens up in a way that suits a late push. The officiating has its own intrigue as well, with a top-level European referee in charge. Supporters always hope for consistency above everything else, and this official has a reputation for letting the game flow when possible. That could benefit Celtic if they manage to keep their intensity high, pressing aggressively without picking up unnecessary cards. And with his brother operating as fourth official, it adds a small twist to the night that folk have already begun chatting about. Not that it should matter, of course, but supporters love a quirky detail, especially on big European evenings. It's worth saying that Celtic's recent record in this competition shows they're capable of surprising people. Many had written them off before the match against Feyenoord away, and yet they came home with a 3-1 win that reignited the entire campaign. The lesson from that night is simple. Celtic can be dangerous when underestimated, and they often play with more freedom when the pressure shifts slightly onto the opponent. If they tap into that mindset again, you never know what sort of performance might unfold. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers have been circling the corridors of Celtic Park this week, and it seems the boys might be on the verge of shaking up their flank options in a big way. Sources close to the club hint that a South American winger, already renowned for his blistering pace, has reportedly put pen to paper and could be calling the Hoops home. While official announcements remain under wraps, the mere suggestion has got supporters buzzing, imagining the chaos a player of such speed could wreak on the Scottish Premiership's defences. The player, described by insiders as a jet on the wings, has caught the eye of scouts with his electrifying bursts down either flank, leaving defenders struggling to keep pace. Celtic, long keen to inject fresh dynamism into their wide areas, seem to have moved swiftly to secure his signature, understanding that a winger of this caliber could open up games in a heartbeat. Rumours suggest he's a traditional winger with an eye for the corner flag, but also a penchant for cutting inside and challenging keepers with venomous shots. Fans have taken to social media, speculating endlessly about how this acquisition could reshape Ange Postecoglou's attacking options. Would he slot in alongside the established frontmen, providing a fresh outlet on the break, or could he even push for a starting berth, bring in a new kind of unpredictability to Celtic's play? One thing's for certain, chatter around the club suggests this isn't just another signing. It could signal a strategic move to make Celtic's wings more lethal than ever. Some pundits are cautious, pointing out that South American flair can sometimes need time to settle in the brisk Scottish climate, both literally and figuratively, yet the potential is undeniable. A winger who can reach top speed in a blink of an eye is the sort of player that can change the course of a match in seconds, and Celtic fans are already dreaming of lightning-fast counters and mazy runs down the sidelines. As the rumours swirl and speculation reaches fever pitch, one thing remains clear. If this deal comes off, the boys could have just landed a genuine game changer. For now, it's all hush-hush, but the anticipation is palpable. The Scottish top flight may soon witness a new breed of pace, courtesy of a South American dynamo, and the Celtic faithful are already bracing themselves for a thrilling chapter at Parkhead. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.